Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are Jill Van Brussel and Patrick Delaney. Welcome.
Hey, it's nice to be back in the studio with you. It has been a minute.
It has been. I think the last time we were in person in the studio was pre-pandemic.
It was definitely pre-pandemic, yes.
A lot of Zooms since then.
Yes, quite a bit. So, you look good.
Well,
it's nice
likewise.
to see you.
Yes. The pandemic years have been good. No, they have not.
Not at all. I don't want to talk about it.
And Jill, great to meet you. Great to have you here. We're going to talk about your show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Which is called... Why do I own a thong and other existential questions?
Exactly.
We are totally diving into that
okay.
head first.
Right.
Before we go there, so Patrick, you and your husband Chris Okishii, well known in the theater and production circuit in Iowa.
Well, I like to think so. I don't know if it's true or not.
It is totally true.
It's what we tell ourselves.
Chris, of course, just coming off directing Mamma Mia at Theater Cedar Rapids.
He's having a good summer. Yeah.
Which was huge. And the two of you have, for a while, been, kind of producing bringing your own shows. Either sometimes they involve you, sometimes they don't, to the Iowa City area. But you're kind of formalizing that. I mean, you got a production company name and everything now.
Yeah, we're official and everything. We're gonna have a website. We're almost like grown-ups.
This is almost like grown-ups.
No, we started producing our own work in 2016, and we would do a show here and a show there. We specialize in doing theater that in found spaces and non-traditional spaces. So we did a production of Sense and Sensibility in a furniture store that Jill was in, and we did a small play at the recycling center. So this is our step forward. This is our first full season, and we're very excited about it.
And Jill, you're in the inaugural production of this. Now you're from. You live in Colorado.
Yeah.
And you're a costume designer, and you teach theater at Colorado Mesa.
Colorado Mesa University, yeah.
And you were part of the Chicago theater scene for a long time,
for a
too.
bit, yeah.
What was your most fun costume experience in Chicago?
Ooh, I have to say it probably was... one of those little storefront productions, which Chicago is known for, these strange, tiny little, no budget, hardly any pay kinds of productions that have so much interest in them. And I remember working on one that was literally in a storefront. The window at the front of the stage was part of the whole thing, a production of Taming of the Shrew. So where we got to be kind of a little modern, a little Renaissance, rip pieces of things apart, play with the audience that was out crossing on the sidewalk and stopping to watch. So that was probably one of the most memorable things.
Oh, very fun.
Yeah.
Well, but of course that leads us kind of to why do I own a thong and other existential questions. So this is when we, it's kind of one person plus show.
Yes.
We'll explain that in a minute.
more soon. Yes.
But it's a cabaret. It's a musical.
It is. It's I would maybe describe it as if you took some slam poetry and some singing and some memoir and kind of put it in a cocktail shaker and kind of shook it around a little bit. And what comes out is a bit of a portrait of a life lived looking through the lens of clothes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are you a songwriter yourself? Did you compose the music, or did you just do lyrics?
I did not. I chose from all different kind of genres of music. There's everything from some 70s feminist anthems to some kind of Bette Midler-esque rap pieces to some classic jazz and a little of everything. So definitely not a music writer, more of an interpreter.
So who helped you with the music then?
Well, in the first iteration of the show, because I got the opportunity to develop this back at my university in Colorado. We have a cabaret series there run by one of my colleagues, and I was sort of lounging in his doorway once, just complaining that I felt a little flat and stale, and he said, well, why don't you put together a cabaret and I'll program it for you. And so once I said yes and sort of threw my cap over the wall, I actually had to do it. So that colleague, Jeremy Franklin, and our music director at the time there, Doug Morrow, helped me develop the music. And then I've had a wonderful sort of opportunity to rebirth that and sort of re-envision some of the music with a new music director on this end, Jason Sifford.
So before Jill was an extraordinary costume designer, she was a pretty extraordinary performer, and that's actually Jill and I have known each other for well over 30 years, and that's how I first got to know Jill when we both lived in Findlay, Ohio, together.
The theater capital of the United States.
Yes,
well known,
yes.
well known. Yes, I don't even think the theater department exists anymore. I think I killed it. But so when we found out that Jill was doing this cabaret, we knew this was sort of a special event, and we weren't going to miss it. So we took a pilgrimage to Grand Junction, Colorado, last summer to watch Jill, and she had 2 performances. After the first performance, we said, "Well, we need to bring this to Iowa City," and so we did. And so it's kind of been a delight to have her here again, and to watch the show come back together with Jason Sifford, who we know and love and have worked with for a long time. So yeah, we're very pleased.
Jill has through a couple of different iterations. Has the show changed or evolved at all? I always think of shows that are mainly one person shows, and especially that are taken from your own life, that have a memoir quality. I always kind of think of them as maybe not always ever done. That you're maybe all, there are some things that, change or evolve as you change or evolve. Is that true, or?
I think to a small extent, yeah. I think just my understanding, my comfort with the material, sort of, where I'm delving back into is kind of evolving as I put it together this second time. Because it's with fresh collaborators in a different kind of space. And so I'm able to kind of step back and look at it a little more than I was the first time.
We'll say this again at the end, but we should say you're going to be at the James Theater.
Yes, at the James Theater, August 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Which has in a very short time become a very busy space.
And a beautiful one, too.
And it is.
Hats off to Leslie Nolte for the amazing work that they've done in that space.
Took that space that has so much great history and really writing.
It's nice to bounce off those walls again.
Yeah. Which is very cool. So Jill, it's a cabaret. It's a music show. How much kind of what's the balance between doing the talking storytelling and the singing storytelling?
I don't know. What would you say, Patrick? It's maybe a half and half.
It's about half and half,
Okay.
and I think the
Yeah.
transitions from one to the other are pretty seamless. It's not here's the part where I talk, here's the part where I sing. It just sort of flows in and out.
So you said it's kind of the stories in your life surrounded by clothes.
Yeah.
So and how did that? What was the? Because you said your colleague suggested you found a project. You had a project.
Yeah.
So what was it about this? Did you look down at yourself and go, these are or did you look at your closet or your underwear drawer? I guess
Yes.
because of the title.
All of the above. I mean, usually cabarets tend to have some kind of autobiographical quality, and I'm trying to figure out what I wanted to tell, how I wanted to tell it. I finally landed on the lens that I have. So as a costume designer, I'm really interested, not so much in fashion, but I'm interested in the significance these little pieces of fabric can hold for us, how many memories, how many points of significance, how they sort of help us shape and define our identities. And so it seemed like a good place to start. I think these little choices that we make can be so telling. Like I noticed when we met you, Dennis, you have this fantastic pair of red tennis shoes on right now. And I would imagine that says something about a little sparkiness in your personality.
My red shoes get a lot of way more comments than I would have imagined.
Oh, they're fantastic.
A pair of men's shoes would get. Okay, well, so I guess there's your next cabaret. It's, Dennis and his red shoes.
Start putting your work together now. Yes, we'll produce it.
So we don't want to spoil the content, but pick an item of clothing and tell me what that inspired you to talk about in a You can start with the thong. I think we've already spoiled that, I guess.
Well, sure. Let me give you maybe a little road into it. I think we all have something tucked away in our drawers or our closets or our garages that is an item that really tells a story about us or raises a lot of questions about us. So if you have that piece of, say you have that treadmill that is now just a place where you hang your clothes, that already has built into it a whole lot of story into it. Who were you trying to be when you bought that treadmill? What does it say about who you are now that it just serves as a clothes dryer? And what does it say about you that you haven't gotten rid of it and who you think you still want to be or should be? So I guess the equivalent of that is this tiny wisp of fabric that's laying around in my lingerie drawer that causes me to think, who am I trying to be? Who am I? It gets at all kinds of questions about sort of who we are and the body and fashion and who we think we should be and maybe we aren't. And do we accept ourselves? Do we not? Do we still have the sort of, the big impossible dream of who we think we might be one day? So all this concentrated in one little wisp of fabric.
Writ large, it's the, I love this shirt, this blouse, this whatever, but I can't get it in the right size, but I'll get it, I'll buy it because I'll be that size.
Yes.
It's aspirational.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. So, all the kinds of hopes, dreams, projections, or in some cases, the memories and the attachments we have to things. I have a whole sort of sequence about my mother and watching her through her life, sort of being in her closet all of her life and watching her put on her makeup and sort of how you can track your relationship to a person or even the evolution of a person through these experiences we have with them.
The show is Why Do I Own a Thong and Other Existential Questions at the James Theater in Iowa City, August 12th, 13, 14, right?
Yes. 7:30, 2 o'clock.
Okay, and you can get tickets at the James website, which is...
You've got the poster in front of you.
Poster's right here. The jamesic.com.
Yes.
And they've got a description of the show up there and some more information. And, welcome back, because I know you've been here before.
Yeah,
Jill.
it's nice and circular. The first time I came here, I was at the old James, which was the Riverside Theater.
Yeah, I wanted to drop in some of our special guests that we're going to have.
Oh, that's right. We forgot about that. Yeah, so we said one-woman show plus, but there is...
So Jill has been here quite a few times as a costume designer. The most recent thing she designed was Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812 at Riverside, which was, a huge hit for them. So Jill is not yet known to the Iowa City community, but she is very well known among the acting community here because she makes everybody look really good. So we asked every fabulous woman we know in town if they would be interested in coming in and singing a song for the finale of Jill's show, and they all said yes. So this lineup. This is Kristen Barrand. This is Mia Jimenez. This is Jody Hovland. This is Rachel Linhart, Katie Hahn, Noelle Vandenbosch, Kristen Newman, Robin Calhoun. I'm like missing 3 or 4 more. It's unbelievable.
It is literally every female corridor actress that we've seen and enjoyed in many things.
It is a deep bench.
Yes. I know. I'm overwhelmed. I'm so excited that we're just going to be on the same stage together.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. So.
Well, sounds like a riot. 3 shows only, though, at the James Theater in Iowa City, which is a great space, but not the hugest space.
No.
So get your tickets.
Buy early, and and if you've not been to the space yet, you should check it out. It's just gorgeous.
Again, the jamesic.com for tickets and more information, and I guess watch this space for more productions coming from Crooked Path.
There's more coming down the path.
All right, excellent. Thanks you both for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, Dennis.
You can hear The Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20 or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.